when I first got started, and I would go into businesses and really excited if I, got a business to work with us. But then there were times when, one didn't work out. Not every business is going to work with you, and I would take it personal. And what did I do wrong? They're getting taken advantage of. Why aren't they wanting to sign up with us, with AGMS? But as time went on, I learned not to take that personal because I didn't have the account anyway, so it's just a business I talk to. So yeah.
I think you kind of hit it dead on the nail, because the one thing that we always think is that we're losing something that we have when we get into those kind of situations. And it does get better the more you get involved with it, and the more you talk to more people. And yes, not all of them turn out, perfect in every way, but each challenge or each situation, the more you practice and the more you go out there and you get involved into the business, the better and more confident you become. But then also it's kind of like what you said, when in the beginning when we got that first no, it's like, what did I do wrong? You kind of second guess yourself.
Right.
You kind of wonder, you take it in a personal way, and then you learn that it's not you.
No.
And it's one of the things that I love about the fact that here we're able to use an expert from afar. And so when I was working with Alex Sarabia, the one thing was that when I ran into an obstacle, or I had to answer a question, or even when, let's say, he helped me as an expert and the answer was no, it's like he told me, he says, Francis, you don't have to worry about it, because when you're using me as an expert and you're passing that baton, understand it's not personal. When you pass that over to me, when they say yes, they're saying yes to both of us. When they say no to me, they're saying, no to me. Don't take it personal. But even then, we don't have the account anyways.
Right.
So who cares?
Right.
And then once you get that and you feel that, you understand that, it's like for me, when I walk in somewhere, it's like, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to go in no matter what happens. I don't have the account anyways, but I'm going to still go in there with the focus and everything, that I'm going to go in and get that account. And I feel more confident than I did before. And I think the biggest challenge that I have now is that the more that I've know now, the things that in the beginning we made such a huge deal about, I need to know about rates. I need to know about what all equipment do you have. We wanted to know everything. We wanted the manual, we wanted the catalog, we wanted everything. And we heard it all the time, and I know you've heard it even from Jamie. You don't have to worry about that.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's about building that relationship and that connection with your client. It's not about you, it's about them. And one of the things that is really neat is one is, now that I know more, I have to work harder to remember how it was in the beginning, so that I continue doing the simple things and not overcomplicate it. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me a lot, is every single day I have to remind myself, it's okay, it's not about rates, it's not about this. Just go back to the basics of where we got started. And I remember those, the nervousness, but also through that nervous, how we muddled through. And you remember, like when you first you went in, got your statement, and that excitement, and I reach back into that moment so that I can, I call it Zen, yoga myself down and get more comfortable and be able to close the account. And then, you feel awesome. So.
Oh yeah, and I still do that today. And I claim not to know a lot about statements, and I don't. And even though I've been doing it, working with Jamie for 8-10 years now, I can look at a statement and point out a few things, but I don't want to know a lot about a statement. I just don't. I wait till Jamie comes in, and it just works. You don't need to know a lot about the statements. People think you need to know everything about them, and you don't. So
it's true. And like, even for me, like I do, now I know more about a statement. I do know how to read them. But one of the things that I still do, even where I'm at today, is that I still get the statement, I'll send it to the office, I'll buy that time so that I can build a little bit more rapport with the business owner. and I send it to the office. And that's one of the greatest things, is that we have so many tools and avenues to be able to. We have the expert from afar of someone like Alex, you know, someone like your husband, Jamie, you know, the people in the office. They're there, and it's amazing the things that they do to help you. And you've got that backup. And so even today, it's like, even though I know how to use the statement, I can look at it and I can simply look at it and say, oh, you know what, right off the bat, I can see where there's some savings there. But if you give me just a couple of minutes and let me send it into the office, I'm sure that we can get you a bigger picture. And I'll send it to the office, and then I'll build a little bit more rapport, and it allows me to make that more of an emotional connection with them about the things they like, the things that we'd like to change, why they got started in their business. And I talk more about them, and I don't go when I'm waiting for that, let me back up a minute, because the reason I'm saying that is because a lot of times what I find in working with people is that we tend to want to just go back and start selling AGMS.
Yeah.
And then that's where we mess up, because all of a sudden we went into sales mode. And so I have to back myself up and just go back to relating to them, learning more about their business, why they got started, the things that they would love to change, and what are they looking for, something that would, you know, why would they want to do business with us, and what would I need to do business with them. And so it gives you that point, and then when that comes in, it's like, oh, you know, it's more of a fresh air kind of a thing to be able to ease into it, and also at the same time build more rapport, where it allows me to, one thing I love is whether the answer is yes or no, to ask for a referral, because they trust me, they're feeling more comfortable in talking to me, so that when I do leave, whether I get the account or not, I still have, you know, a referral to be able to go and talk to somebody else.
And I've gotten no's before. For example, there's this fitness center that I work out at, and she's from Poland, so she does, her English is okay but not great. So she's been taken advantage of by salespeople. So I got that right off the bat, that feeling that she wasn't comfortable. And when I talked to her about this AGMS, she's like, "Oh no, I'm not switching. I'm not doing it." And so I left, and I said to myself, what can I say to her different, you know, to make her feel comfortable? So when I went in the next day, I walked in and I said to her, I know you're not switching, right off the bat, so she knew I wasn't, you know, being pushy. And then we started talking, and she started opening up about how she got taken advantage of. And when she calls on the phone, because she has an accent, that she feels like she gets taken advantage of. So I helped her through that whole process. I was able to call for her, and she was so happy. She was so thankful that I could, you know, to help her in that area where she didn't feel confident. So, and we just got that account 2 days ago. So, and she's, you know, so happy now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
And you know what's really neat is that you've learned to realize, I know, like for me, that a no just means no for right now.
Right.
And so I know there's many. Yes.
From that, right? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like no is no. I don't ever want to go back. I'm just, you know, we go back with our little sad face, and then until we get over it's not me. And it's just about learning to get better. And you know, at that moment, it's just not the right timing. Sometimes timing is everything. And you know, just reminded me of an account that it took me 3 years. Not kind of like, even with you being, you know, or like what you were saying, you know, it took you a couple days or so forth, but this one took me 3 years. And I remember, you know, first time I ever walked in there, her name is Betty, and I'll never forget her name, because I would always go in and go, "Hey Betty, how are you doing? You know, I'm just over here visiting, you know, and I just want to stop and say hi," because the first time she was like the gatekeeper that was not going to let me talk to anybody. They're not interested. They're happy. Everything is perfect. And so I just kept, every time that I would be in the area and I would swing back by, and I would say hello and just, you know, build that little bit of trust and so forth. And every once in a while, there were other people in there. And I remember telling Alex many times, I go, you know, one of these days, I'm going to get this account. I just know it, you know. And it was one day I was heading home, and it was one of those days where you get the nose, and I could have given up. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna just make one last stop. And so traffic wasn't the best, so I thought, you know what, I don't know, just pull over, see if Betty's there and just say hello. And so I did. And so I walked in and walked around the corner, and I didn't see her, and there was a gentleman sitting there, and I'd seen him there before. And then she comes out, and I said, hey, you know, Betty, how are you doing? And she was like, hey, Frances, I'm doing great. Are you visiting Anon? I said, no, not today. I just thought I'd just make a special trip just to kind of say hi to you because traffic's bad. And I figured, hey, you know. And the gentleman goes, you know, he goes, can I ask you a question? He goes, I've seen you here a couple of times. He goes, what do you do? You know, because you're always so happy. Mm-hmm. And every time I've seen you and she says you're always smiling and everything. And I said, well, I'm in the credit card processing industry, and I've been, you know, talking to her off and on for the last couple of years. And he goes, really? And he goes, so have you had a chance to talk to anybody? And I said, no. I said, I've never really gotten a name, you know, from Betty. I mean, not, you know, and I know she's doing her job and everything. He says, well, today is your lucky day. And I said, oh, really? And then he goes, why? He says, well, I'm actually from the corporate office. And he said, you know, I know exactly the person that you need to talk to, because in fact, I heard her talking that we need to make a change and that they're kind of going through some issues and stuff like that. And of course, I was like ready to jump for joy, and I'm just kind of keeping myself, come on, that's just wonderful. And, you know, he gives me the name, and I'm kind of like shaking up, you know, at the same time, and excited and nervous. And so I thanked him, and then I, you know, left, and I got in the car and I made the call, and it happened to be the lady that answered the phone. It was about 5:05, and we hit it off. And I started talking about Alex, and I started talking to him about, you know, how he was very instrumental, being one of our execs for the company, and our co-founder, that has been very instrumental in helping large businesses and negotiating, you know, certain rates and so forth. And I told some things about his achievements, but yet how what a wonderful human being that he was, and that I would love to make an introduction. And she was like, oh, you know, tomorrow morning, that would be great. This would be the time. And I couldn't wait. I called Alex and I said, Alex, you're not going to believe this. You remember that account that I've been telling you for the last 3 years? Guess who I have an appointment with? And it was so awesome, because if I'd not pursued it, you know, and gone in and still, you know, not taking that no as a no and taking it personal, we would have never actually signed up the account. Because once I introduced it to Alex, he worked with the corporate office, and, you know, I told him a little bit about the conversation that we had. And I guess it was probably a couple of weeks later, he calls me and he says, Frances, are you ready for a road trip? And I was like, road trip? Where am I going? And he's going, you know that account? He says, we're going to Waco. And we drove to Waco, and we ended up with about 69 accounts. And it was, it's one of those things where I stopped to think, you know, when I was listening to your story, is like, what would have happened if I would have just walked away and taken it personal, and it would have never. And then to this day, the particular account, every month or every other month, I get different little accounts from them all over the country that are constantly opening up and so forth and stuff. But I also would not have gotten it on my own. It's because I passed the baton and got myself, my pride, my whatever out of the way, and let someone else that was better qualified to be able to take care of it. And then I also had the peace of mind that I could still go out and close other accounts and get other statements while that was in the background being done and stuff. So it's like extremely exciting.